We're live here once again. Michael Rand, Ryan Kostecka. After Ryan, I didn't think something could top Game 3, but I think Game 4 did it. Everything was just a notch higher. The stakes for the Lakers, the effort for LeBron, and the Wolves being able to overcome all that to take a 3-1 series lead. They closed this out. Like, the biggest thing I thought was their deficiency going into this whole series was what's going to happen in those clutch time moments.
Yep.
And both of these last two clutch games have gone to the Wolves. Both of those were absolutely in the balance with 4 minutes left, and they were the better team down the stretch of both games.
We've talked about it at length, leading into this postseason was this series was going to hinge in the clutch minutes. And if that was the case, you got two of the best closers in the NBA and LeBron and Luka going up against, a team that had struggled in the clutch lately. And all of a sudden, get to the postseason, and Edwards looks like the best player on the floor. He is absolutely phenomenal. He is not afraid of the moment, whether it's in Los Angeles or in Minneapolis. He's ready to go. So I thought that was really, really impressive. The team as a whole, I just feel like the Wolves are just a more cohesive unit. I mean, the fact that Ant gave up that ball to Nas after Nas has hit the 2 threes, instead of Nas taking a little, push shot from the free throw line, drops off to Jaden McDaniels for the N1 dunk. I mean, trusting your teammates like that is absolutely insane. And I think it's the difference with the Wolves. They believe that each one of their guys can hit that shot, while conversely with the Lakers, we've seen Reeves had a couple chances late, did not hit it, So that's everything you need to know right there.
43 points for Anthony Edwards, 12 of 23 from the field, 14 of 17 from the free throw line, also 9 rebounds, 6 assists, only 1 turnover. I mean, that's a masterpiece. He played 44 minutes, which sounds like a lot until you realize that Luka Doncic and LeBron each played 46 minutes, including the entire second half. I'm pretty sure Ant played the entire second half as well. I mean, this is Game 4. Game 4s are the best because when it's 2-1, the team that's down 2-1 is desperate, and the team that's up 2-1 is hungry. And so it's like the Game 4s are just beautiful. This was a classic Game 4 in every sense.
It really was. I mean, we both knew coming into this that the Lakers to win, they were going to need a godlike effort from Luka and a godlike effort from LeBron, which I thought was going to be really difficult considering just this 38-hour turnaround. I mean, that's really tough on a 40-year-old LeBron James, and he was phenomenal for most of the game. I mean, a near triple-double. I think it was 27 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. Luka had 38 points. Luka was great. I think there are a couple key stats. The biggest one to take away, Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the NBA. He finished with, I believe, 1 assist in the whole game?
2 assists. Yeah, 2.
2 assists.
Yeah.
I mean, holding Luka to 2 assists and 1 rebound, that is absolutely that's the win in itself. You're not allowing anyone else to get going. So that was huge for the Wolves to pull that out, to take essentially their best shot and still get the game done, get the game won. Very, very impressive from the Wolves. I was definitely thinking, I didn't know if the Wolves had that killer instinct in them.
No.
Could they stomp on the Lakers' throat? Could they land that haymaker when they needed to? And it looked like it started the second quarter, third quarter. I think you had the tweet saying, did they just blow this series?
I thought
the
first
they did. 3 minutes? Right?
Because it felt like what they had done so often during the regular season, where you had those like 3-minute lapses where it's like, oh man, everything's going good, and then they just have a lapse, and then that's where the game turns. I really thought that was it. And then to their credit, they finally got the lead. I think it was Ant that maybe gave them the lead eventually. Maybe it was off those Luka. I think it was after the Luka foul on the 3-pointer that they finally took the lead.
Yes, it was.
And then, Lakers got it back, credit to them, with a couple threes.
Mm-hmm.
But then that play you talked about, but I really thought like they had done I didn't think they could withstand that kind of lapse in a game like this, but they did.
It was very impressive. I mean, it just felt like everything Lakers were throwing up was going in until late in those clutch minutes. We talked about the minutes Luka and LeBron played. I mean, you could see it. Their legs were they were gassed. Their legs were completely gone by that point. And the fact that it was Reeves taking those shots, you almost felt more comfortable. Maybe it was Rui or even Dorian Finney-Smith to take that shot more than Austin Reeves in that moment. But Lakers kept finding Reeves, and he kept missing. I mean, the story of the game, one of the stories for sure is the Wolves took 90 shots and Lakers took 80. That's 10 extra possessions, 18-11 advantage in the offensive rebounds. I mean, those 10 extra possessions, that puts a lot more mileage on Luka and LeBron playing defense at a high level, or trying to at least. I mean, and you saw in the end, the Wolves they're a younger team, they're a deeper team, and I think they're ready for the moment, and they're seizing the moment, which is really impressive to see.
100%. And they, like you said, they withstood not just LeBron with 27, 12, and 8, Luka with 38. I mean, Hachimura
Yep.
had 23 in this game. So like when they're, when they were able to move the ball, especially in the third quarter, early fourth, like Hachimura's getting hot. Reeves still had 17. It's not like the supporting cast for the Lakers didn't show up. They had basically, Reeves that's probably pretty close to his average. I think he averages about 20. So, but then
Yeah.
Hachimura coming up like that, like they got basically like the Lakers. That was about as well, I feel like, as the Lakers can play, and they still beat them.
I mean, what was it? I think the Lakers had 12 turnovers, the Wolves 9. Sorry, you got my little one in the background there.
Sorry, Lakers had. I'm seeing the box score 10 turnovers for the Lakers, 9 for the Wolves, at least on the box score I'm looking at.
And it was what? And I think the fast break points was points conceded off those turnovers, 19-5 in favor of the Wolves. And so what that tells me is that the Wolves, not only as soon as that turnover happens, they are getting out and they are running. Mm-hmm. And then by conversely, the Wolves are so athletic, they have enough athletes to get back on defense.
Yeah.
And to prevent the Lakers from, getting those points off turnovers, which I think is a huge storyline, which people aren't talking about that enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw it in game 3. That was a huge factor in game 3, and it was a big, big factor in game 4 as well.
Massive other things for the Wolves. Julius Randle, another big game, 25 points, 7 rebounds. He didn't have a single turnover. Like he has stepped up big time in the playoffs, and they're all kind of taking turns on Luka, giving him different looks. And I think Randle's done a pretty good job on Luka in this series.
I think Randle has done a good job with Luka, and he's, in a sense, maybe the big body that might give Luka a little bit of trouble in the sense Luka's not this incredible athlete, and so you're not worried about him necessarily getting by Randle per se. So if Randle can just kind of stick with them and really be big, be physical with them, it bothers Luka. I thought Randle was great especially in that first half.
Yep.
It's very interesting to me though, and I do understand. I'm really understanding the Randle haters from back, from the time in New York, and why people hated the trade initially was that ball does tend to stop with him a lot of times, where he really struggled, I thought, in the fourth quarter offensively and just fitting within the flow of the offense. Mm-hmm. Too often, Reed had a couple big threes, Ant had some big times. You can tell these guys are starting to get going, and Randle would get the ball and he'd try and go one-on-one or launch a contested three, and it's while that didn't hurt them in this series, that's going to hurt them down the road with if they get there, if they face the Warriors, Rockets, or even obviously the Thunder. When those possessions, when every possession counts, you can't afford to have lapses like Randle still seems. But in the end, I mean, you're willing to take, you'll take those few, tough possessions for the 25 points in the tough defense he gives you. I mean, the reason they were in the game in the first half was because of him and Ant.
Yeah, and then Nas takes over in the fourth. He's got some big buckets. DiVincenzo with that big and one, going to the rim, getting fouled. So they're bench guys. It wasn't like they were dominant, but 25 from those 3 guys. That's more than they got in that game 2 loss. It's maybe not as much as they had in the first game, but that's adequate, acceptable bench production, especially as benches get shorter. You see a few minutes from Terrence Shannon Jr. Didn't see a lot of Na this game because I think he's just kind of struggling right now. It doesn't seem like he is doesn't seem like he's at his peak. I think Dante is taking some of Nickeil Alexander-Walker's minutes. Conley's been able to stay on the floor even though he's not scoring.
Yeah.
Gobert was still somewhat impactful defensively. They got to figure this out because those Gobert minutes are not good minutes for them. They were a minus 11 in his 26 minutes, which means in the other 22 minutes they're a plus 14. They got to look at that going forward. Like they can't keep giving away points especially if they can't figure out a way to get him going offensively.
I know, right? And he finished with 10 rebounds and he alters so many shots at the rim. And I've always been, like I said, my time in Utah, getting to know him and actually really watching, studying his game, I've been a big Gobert believer. But I thought tonight he did not play very well. I really didn't. He had he had the 10 rebounds, but he had very minimal impact. A couple rebounds where he batted it out, which was great in the first half. The second half, he was a non-factor. And if that's the case, if you're Finch, you've got to kind of be willing to pull that trigger very quickly. Yeah. Gobert and Mike kind of have to play together, though. I think you have to mirror their minutes exactly. Yeah. That's going to be the only way. So if that means if Mike is struggling only playing 12 minutes, then Gobert's got to come on as well. Yeah. And I think right now Finch is still mixing and matching a little bit. But you talked about the bench, right? So 25 for the Wolves. Yeah. Lakers, 6 bench points. Yeah. All scored by Dorian Finney-Smith. Yep. So when you get Ant and Julius doing what they do in the starting lineup, and then your bench can outscore the opposing bench 25-6, I mean, that's a recipe for success, and that's very tough for opposing teams to deal with because, it's just wave after wave coming at you. And when you're a team like the Lakers who are older, it's rough.
I wonder if they just start Finney Smith next game because Jackson Hayes' minutes aren't getting. I mean, he only played 4 minutes this game anyway. I don't think he didn't play at all in the second half. So basically, the Lakers had 2 guys at 46, Hachimura and Finney Smith at 41. Reeves played 35. I mean, they emptied it out. I mean, they basically did. I mean, their bench minutes outside of Dorian Finney-Smith were 27 bench minutes outside of Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, they just let it ride. Yeah. They gave it all they had. And again, like I said, they still can come up with it. Now, go ahead. What were you say?
I think that's the first big adjustment we've seen in this series, I think.
Yeah.
Having a reason again, not sure, but if you can still hear me,
we got you now.
The first big adjustment was JJ Redick answering.
Ryan's freezing up a little.
Success for the Lakers.
Yeah, you were freezing up a little bit, but I think I got your main points there. Basically saying that was the biggest adjustment we've seen in the series so far.
Here again.
Yeah, we got a that was the biggest adjustment, like you saying, Finney Smith for Jackson Hayes to start the second half, and they rolled with that for the rest of the game, and it almost won it for him. I mean, Finney Smith made that 3 that gave him the 113-111 lead, and that could have held up if not for that great play. Ant passes out of the double team to Naz Reid. Reid gets it to McDaniels, and away they go for the bucket that gives them the lead in the end. So let's get to a couple of questions, comments from people. These are both related, actually. Colin, I know him from way back in the day. We played a lot of pickup hoops together. He got dunked on one time. Says, love to age 15 years each game. Colin, I feel you. Yeah, these games are a fun watch. They are not necessarily an easy watch right now. These are taking years off of people's lives, but Leaf with the kind of companion post on Blue Sky says, taking years off my life, but I don't care. Those are 2 fun games at Target Center, especially coming on the heels of the win they had Friday night, then the bummer at the X yesterday for the Wild. That series goes 2-2. For the Wolves to finish this one off, it's got to give a ton of people good energy right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's if this ends in a championship ring, I don't think anyone's going to care about the years they've lost in their lives, to be honest with you.
No.
And just the fact that you're going up against LeBron and Luka and taking them out, it's worth it.
Totally worth it. Now I feel like I want to get to one more game before we go, because that New York Detroit game was insane today. But I feel like the mistake now is thinking this is over. This is not anywhere near over at this point. Obviously, the Wolves in the driver's seat 3-1, but now there's 2 off days going back to LA. LA is going to get their legs back underneath them. They're going to be desperate. You've seen that LeBron is playing at an extremely high level. You're seeing Luka playing at an extremely high level. You see their bench support. Like, the Wolves are going to have to be probably at an 8 or a 9 again to finish this series off in LA. And if they don't, they're going to come back here, and the pressure's still going to be on them. So this thing is not over. They're in a great spot, but this thing is not over.
No, far from over. I'm really curious, like we talked about the Wolves, their maturity they've showed this postseason. Can they enter Game 5 with the same intensity? Especially, 2 days off. Take it. Crypto.com is probably going to be rocking. LeBron and Luka are much more rested. You expect probably Lakers bench players, Reeves, maybe Finney Smith, Rui, play. They played well, but to find more of a rhythm. Can the Wolves match that energy from the onset? Can they take it to them? Do they have that killer energy again to end this in 5? Especially because that war gets going at least 6, if not 7.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. 100%.
So you really want to get that any rest you can get, take it if possible.
Knicks beat the Pistons 94-93, but they probably shouldn't have. That last play of the game was Hardaway in the corner. They come out, the officiating comes out, says afterwards they should have called a foul. Doesn't do them any good right now, but if they call that foul, Detroit down 1, that was a 3. It should be 2-2 in this series right now.
I go back and forth about this because yes, it was a foul. I mean, it was minimal contact, I thought, but it's definitely enough to impede Tim Hardaway Jr. as he's shooting the ball, right? But that was a series. I don't know if you watched that game. The refs just let the Pistons and Knicks just beat the living crap out of one another.
Yes.
It was probably the most physical game, apart from there was a Warriors Rockets game that was insanely physical. I mean, so I understand the non-call in a sense, right? Because this is what you've let happen all game long. If my best guess is if that was 3 minutes earlier, they definitely aren't calling that.
Yeah.
So do you change the way the way you've officiated this game? So I think it's tough to look at. And then if you're looking at that foul, then are you going back and look at the other ones? I mean, Jalen Brunson shot 2 free throws, I think, maybe 4 free throws all game.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham, who is equally adept at getting to the line and getting into the paint, shot 2 free throws. So they were just letting them.
Yeah, you're right.
There you go. Letting them beat the heck out of each other. So yeah, it's a missed call. Totally get it. Pistons fans, you have every right to be upset, but at the same time, Pistons should not have let that game, they choked the game away. They've choked almost every single game away in this series they've lost. And now it's a tough loss.
Now that's 3-1 for them. Towns was big in the stretch of that game. 27 points, 9 rebounds. That 3 he made, that deep one. Brunson 32. That was Brunson and Towns had 59 of their 94. That was an old school playoff game. I think I hate it when even if I think the 2-minute report's a good thing, but man, when they come out and say we should have called a foul, that's hard. Even if you acknowledge it, man, that doesn't do anybody any good.
It doesn't.
It just acknowledges that they screwed up, but you don't go back and redo it, and it just does probably even matter at this point.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of respect to the ref. The refs for answering the question. We should have called a foul. A lot of respect for owning up to it, but it's an imperfect game. That's the way this goes, and sometimes you don't get the whistle you want. The ball doesn't bounce the way you want, and now you're down 3-1. How does Detroit, this very young team, how do they regroup? That's going to be really interesting moving forward for them.
Yeah, we still got more hoops today, right? Probably just started.
We do.
What do we just tip off? Boston, Orlando right now, and then Pacers, Milwaukee. Both those are 2-1 games going into a game 4 too. So this is going to be a fun. This isn't going to start. This is going to stop till 11:15 tonight. I probably have to go to bed before they're all over.
Oh, I will.
Just so I can get up with Royce in the morning and hear all of his opinions about all this stuff too. But Ryan, appreciate it. We're going to do this for Game 5 too. I can't remember do we have a game time on Game 5? I'm sure it's late.
I think it's like a 9 o'clock tip off. So Rand, we'll be talking early Tuesday morning or early Thursday morning for that one.
Yeah, because 9 o'clock tip off never means 9 o'clock. It's always 9:23, and then next thing you know it's midnight. But we'll be there for it. Ryan, appreciate it. Get some rest. We'll see you soon, and we'll do this again Wednesday.
Sounds good. See you then.